those joining us online, we added a practice here. At 5 a.m., we're chanting Maha Mantra. So when we wonder what we can do in difficult times, in very challenging times in the world, it's to bring peace into our environment, inner and surrounding. And the most efficacious way to do, even in Raja Yoga. And where are you, Hari, on study of Raja Yoga? What sutra? Still in the first portion?
No, book 2, sutra number 21.
Okay, very good. So we have covered the yamas and niyamas.
Not yet. No, it's not started yet.
Okay.
It started, I think, in the middle or towards the end of book 2, actually.
Yamas and niyamas are introduced right up front in book 2. Pada.
Not so far.
Don't we start in practice?
The practice, yeah, some of it, yeah.
Yeah, well, practice starts with Ashtanga, right? 8 limbs.
We haven't seen that yet.
Interesting. Okay. We'll look and make sure we're looking at the same book.
Page 81.
Page 81?
Was that the page that was missing?
So, mantra. In Pada 1, book 1, we were covering some over the weekend. And practice with mantra is introduced there. Actually, devotion to Ishvara is introduced as a force multiplier in the practice. And then Ishvara's name is, come, you can do it. Ishvara's name is Om. Om. That's also introduced in there, isn't it? And chanting of the name is introduced. It's really the first of the practices that are introduced, and it's introduced in book 1 in the theory. Chanting of Om, yes, is said to be beneficial, and if done with devotion, to lead to samadhi, to lead to liberation. So, okay. So the point is that the chanting of mantra is, when we don't know what to do, the go-to practice. When situations are difficult and we don't know what to do, we know what to do. And that's to chant mantra. So when there's war halfway around the world and you don't know what to do, but you know people are suffering, to ignore it is not efficacious. To ignore it is not beneficial. To feel hopeless about it is not beneficial. To get on a plane and go, well, maybe, but likely not beneficial. But chanting mantra, always beneficial. So everyone should be here for the 7 p.m. Peace mantra every day, unless we're involved in cleanup or something like that. This life is not about you. It's not about you getting what you want. It's an offering. It's a sacrifice. Sacrifice meaning sacrifice, to make sacred. To make this life sacred, and to make it sacred, we must offer it. And so we chant the peace mantra at 7 p.m. And I'm sharing with the people online, since you're join with us on the morning satsangs, but not the rest of the day. And 5 a.m. added the Maha Mantra. So if you'd like to join at those times, please feel free. You'll know that we're chanting. Okay, let's pick up at the Geeta Dhyanam. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us. O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, On thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf, and people of purified intellect are the drinkers. The milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, nature of nature. So we pick up or resume or continue. Who can give an example? So we're talking about the three, of course, and have been for a while now. So do we have more familiarity with them? What are the three?
Gunas?
Yes.
Sattva, Raja, and Tamas.
Very good. So give an example of a tamasic thought that you've experienced recently.
Let's see here, you're tired, you don't want to move. You're
Okay, very good. Give an example of a rajasic thought. Someone that you've experienced recently.
Gotta get this done right now.
Well, yeah, it might be sattvic.
It is? Yes.
I'm not sure that that's rajasic.
Then tell
For what purpose?
To serve.
It's not a
Right
rajasic
now.
thought.
the right now.
Still not rajasic. Swami Shivananda says, do it now. That's very much sattvic.
Good action.
Very much sattvic. Do good action now,
Oh,
I
in
guess
this moment. It's not rajasic.
the propulsion behind it where it's pulling you.
How many times have you had a thought that says, I need?
I want. Yes.
That's rajasic.
Selfish.
Can you tell the difference?
Oh.
Okay. So what else? Somebody else, an example of a rajasic thought.
Don't
That's
tell
done.
me what to do.
Very good. That's beautiful. Om. And you see it arises as a thought, right? And then it might get expressed or not, but still it's the arising of rajas. Okay. Another tamasic thought.
I don't like you.
Could be rajas.
Could be.
Could be rajas. Sounds like rajas to me.
All right.
I can't wait to eat chips and lay around and watch movies.
It's a good.
Laying around and watching movies, would be, that notion would be tamas. Come on, we deal with them all the time.
I don't want to get up at 5 a.m.
Right. I don't want to get up now. So, tamas. Sattvic thought?
Thank you, God.
Very good. Thank you, God. What else?
This peace chanting feels nice.
This peace chanting feels nice. More rajas. Because it's about it feels good. It's okay. Motivation to go chant. Sattva. Yeah. Om. Hari, sattvic thought.
Motivation for the service.
Motivation to serve. So, urge. Mataji, sattvic thought.
I love the chanting.
I love the chanting. Okay, very good. Very good. And are we seeing, it takes time, but are we beginning to recognize them when they're arising? You see, that's part of the practice of waking up, is to recognize them when they're arising. If you recognize them, then you know I'm not that. The more you recognize it, you know I'm not that which is arising. And also, the more you have the capacity to not follow it, right? And to replace it.
Have a cigarette.
You want to be able to control your every thought. All of the thoughts that come to you, that visit you, you want to dispatch them properly. They're not actually your thoughts, interestingly, but they come to you and you have a relationship with them. So through tuning, through prior tuning and current tuning, you have a relationship with them. And you can either let them go, you can replace them. This is all thought power work, right? You can identify with them, cultivate them, embrace them, deny them, all of this, as is appropriate for the circumstances that you're in. So, you see someone, the thought arises, I don't like you. What to do?
Accept them.
Sorry?
Accept them.
Yeah, replace the thought, right? I accept you. Yes? So that's cultivation of a sattvic thought. Okay, so let's pick up here. When the seer beholds, and this is where we closed, when the seer beholds no agent other than the guna and knows that which is higher than them, he attains to my being. When we were together last on, it would have been Thursday morning satsang on this. That was the last sutra that we had read. That's number 19. When the seer beholds no agent other than the guna and knows that which is higher than them, he attains to my being. Who wants to take a shot at what that means?
Can you read it again, please?
Sorry?
Can you read it again?
When the seer beholds no agent other than the guna and knows that which is higher than them, he attains to my being.
He's not controlled by those thoughts.
Right. Who are the agents here? The agents of action?
Goodness.
The gunas.
The gunas. All action? Some action? All actions. And knows that which is higher than them, which is?
The knower.
So,
The knower, the self, capital S, self, Krishna. He attains to my being. The embodied one, having crossed beyond these three guna, out of which the body is evolved, is free from birth, death, decay, and pain, and attains to immortality. So the embodied one referring to? The embodied one refers to, Hari?
The one inside the body.
And who's that?
It's I.
Thank you. Oh. Beyond the three guna. Yes? Out of which the body is evolved. The body's evolved of the guna. The gunas, yes. Body's nature. Is freed from birth, death, decay, and pain, and attains to immortality. Some commentary from Swamiji related to the practice of this. He says, when this dissociation of the self with the guna, or this disentanglement of the spirit from matter, or even this detachment is mentioned, modern man immediately jumps up and exclaims, that will lead to callousness and disruption of the social structure. In fact, over the weekend we had some discussion exactly of what this detachment is meaning. And he describes why. He says, the average person knows only three attitudes in personal relationship. The first is intense clinging in personal relationship. Look, three approaches you see. Intense clinging, so you, right? It's likeful, so
Possessiveness.
hateful kicking, yes?
Kicking.
Yes?
Yes.
and indifference.
Could care less. Yes.
And he says, which is often the worst of the three.
Oh.
Most of us will confuse indifference and detachment. Most will confuse indifference and detachment. And so in discussion, when we talk about detachment, most will hear indifference. And it's not what's being shared.
Detach is to recognize.
Detach is exactly what's being discussed here, which is to see that the gunas themselves are doing what's being done here, and to maintain a relationship with the one. And where is the one related to the person that's screaming at you? So the person screaming at you, rajas. But where is the one related to that person screaming at you?
What's to say?
The true.
Yeah, is it only in you?
No.
No, it's in them.
It's also in them. So indifference, and Raja Yoga Sutra uses the term indifference towards the sinful. That's in first Sutra 34, something like that, in the first book. But here, indifference.
So, Swami, can we say, like the detached person would not be affected and would pray for them,
Correct.
and the indifferent
Yes.
would not be affected, but also
The indifference is affected but doesn't know it. They're affected by their indifference. Tamas.
Yeah.
Tamas.
So it's still being affected.
Still being affected, of course, because that's a buildup of tamas.
It's a judgment.
Again, we are to act. We are to act. We're given all of these instruments for a purpose, and our freedom relies upon our action. But action in what way? Detached from the fruit, detached from the expectation of the fruit. Yes? So we are to act with this instrument in a way that is what?
Aligned.
Sorry?
Aligned.
Aligned, beneficial.
Yeah.
Beneficial, yeah. And because someone's screaming at you, you stop? Right? That's only attachment to the fruit.
Right.
So remember, where does action start? Where does action start? In thought.
Yes.
So give us an example of a beneficial action. You just said it.
Service.
Yeah, serve. How do you serve in that moment? You pray for someone,
Yes.
right? Yeah. You bring a beneficial thought. You chant the mantra in the mind and offer them the fruit of it. Like that. So that's detached or non-attached.
Makes sense.
So he says this is the fourth, and it's called non-attachment. And it's something we don't see in the world typically. But it's what we're being asked to cultivate. Is this attitude of non-attachment. And that will free us. If we can see what's acting as the gunas. So what happens to me? Well, nothing happens to me in one sense, right? In the true sense.
True.
Something's happening to the body in another sense. I'll give you an example from this weekend. We had a lovely weekend. We were in Grand Junction. Elizabeth and Brian are motivated. They both have yoga practices, active yoga practices, and have for some years. And so they're tied in a bit to the yoga community, and they have some friends who also, and there's a cause that they care greatly about, which is suicide and suicide prevention. And so a few years ago, they were motivated to start a little yoga fest in the community, with the proceeds going to support suicide prevention efforts and awareness. And also understanding that yoga helps to bring one out of that deep depression and helps to connect someone back to their purpose anyway. And so I joined them in 2019, and then they didn't have, but they had some community people who had come to the Yoga Fest and such and had supported. And so they'd invited Manoj and I to come in, Manoj Chelam, who will come here in April sometime and visit us and give a talk. He's a wonderful soul. He's a Murti Wala. He one of his roles is to help people to become familiar with the Murtis, and that's his business as well. So there were maybe on Saturday and Sunday, we started Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday there were maybe 25 to 30, about close to 30 people that came in their home and gathered, and everybody very much aware, everybody had some qualification. Vairagya, dispassion, comes more easily in this time as people see the things of the world aren't going to give happiness. That's one of the benefits, as it were, of this time. And so they were really paying attention, and the programs flowed really well. And then there were 2 cats that they have, Shiva and Vishnu. And Swami, and of course we're talking about the gunas when I say this, is very allergic to cats. And so these cats have been in the house for a long time, so they go everywhere. They have free reign. The room that I was sleeping in, that's their room also. I mean, it's one of the places where they hang out. And they're long-haired cats. And so in years past, I'd actually, quote-unquote, had cats. I'd been in the company of cats, but only one cat, and the body gets adapted to them after a while. And so what I saw within this body was all the arising of the defense mechanisms in the body. And all this stuff is habitual. Everything is habitual. And so a particular sensation comes, and habitually there is a firing off of these defense mechanisms. And the phlegm arises, and it comes first. Where is this making contact? First in the nose. So first it's coming into the nose, and the sinuses become active, and then they start getting clogged, and all of this. So I see the process. I know how the process plays out. And yet I'm there to serve. And so the thought even comes I should leave, and I had to laugh at it. It's like, give me a break. So, we did the full program over the weekend, and during the weekend, these mechanisms, they continued to be at work. And so after a while, the lungs are starting to get filled, and it's, what to do. You just do what you're supposed to do. Yeah. But Tamas and Rajas would say otherwise. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tamas would say just leave, and Rajas would say, fix the problem. And so, but I'm not that. Nor are you. And what's happening in the body doesn't actually affect me, and it doesn't affect you. Huh? And so you can imagine Arjuna in the battlefield, and the stuff that's going to happen. There's pain there. Yes. But does it affect you? Does it affect him? What he's learning is it doesn't affect me. Huh? Yeah. And look at our daily lives, and here's where we put the practice in. This is really the yoga practice. Look at the stuff that's arising and ask yourself the question, what am I to do now? Most people would say, I'm to go get something for this sniffle.
Yeah.
Look at that. And then, okay, then who's to do what I'm supposed to do? then who's going to be here present with these 25 people that have come in order to be present with the light?
That's right.
Right? Yeah? This is why it said things like Mad Fools Club, etc. I mean, most everyone would say, no, you have to take care of yourself. But I say, but I am taking care of myself. I'm the light. So I am taking care of myself. Huh? So that's, and then yesterday, and then the drive back, it's just continuing out. And now the cat dander is not so present, except it's all through my clothing, of course. And I'm driving back with it. I just realized that now. And then I got here. Okay, the voice says, time to rest. But then I start looking around, and there's a whole list, and it's playing out in front of me. So I go into the office. I was in the office all day yesterday. Puttering. Checking things off the list. Doing what is to be done.
Yeah.
And then nature takes care of it.
Yeah.
So now it's pretty well complete. It's coughed up, whatever. And if it would have been more days, then pneumonia or something like that. But so what? I figure the boss knows. So there's an attitude that we have the ability to cultivate. You see, as long as we're beholden to the gunas and what the gunas are doing, as long as we're beholden, we suffer. We suffer terribly. You think you suffer from a cold. That's BS. You don't suffer from a cold. You suffer from identification with a cold.
Yeah.
People think they suffer from COVID. That's absolutely wrong. They suffer from the identification with it.
Right. Makes it worse.
COVID is a thing of the body. It's a thing of the gunas. And no, you absolutely shouldn't live in a way where you intentionally or unintentionally expose other people to the things that are passing through the body, etc. But no, to have the idea that you can't do what you're to do because of this or because of that. And prioritize the maintenance of the body and say, I'm caring for myself. Right? You see the delusion in it. If I knew myself, then I would be here at satsang. Caring for myself.
True caring.
Oh. So this is where we say stand up, stand up, stand up. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna had fallen very deeply into this stuff, into this attachment to what's happening and what might happen, what could happen, what may be, what will be. This is going to happen, and forgotten all about who he was with, Lord Krishna, forgotten all about the duty, the responsibility that was given to him that he was to carry out. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. In a way, of course, it's innocent because this ignorance is so strong, right? And so strong and so pervasive. But he'd forgotten all about it. And what does Lord Krishna tell him first? First, Lord Krishna says, stand up. Stand up. Shake this off. What has come over you? Right? You're grieving for that which is not to be grieved for.
Personalized it.
Because you've made it all about the gunas, the nature of nature, just that, this interplay of nature. You've made it all about that. And what happens to this and what happens to that. You've forgotten completely who you are. This is what he's saying. And you're not honoring who you are. So this is the clarion call to us as yogis. It's yes, sitting here and imbibing and practicing the asanas and pranayama and all of this. Yes, absolutely. And serving and cooking and all of this. It's all beautiful. Yes, all of this. But really the duty of the yogi is to stand up. It's to stand up. This world exists as a school and as a test, and it will test us on this, right? And we will each have to endure that which has been so debilitating and so painful. We'll have to endure it again, and we'll have to keep enduring it until we're able to be detached in it and able to be prayerful and have the right mindset, a beneficial mindset. And know that I'm not this as it's happening. And that's a yogi, and that's one who's coming into union, who finally does come into union with the highest self. This is what's being shared here. So not indifferent. It's a good lesson, because it's so common to hear indifference. And I don't lecture you guys, because everything that gets shared here I've dealt with. Every single thing. So not indifference, but non-attachment. Non-attachment. Nothing here will affect you unless you let it. Nothing here will affect you unless you let it. So don't let it. Be who you are. Any questions or comments?
Well, I don't know if I'm imagining things, but I noticed when I was chanting yesterday that my symptoms aren't there.
Yeah. The symptoms only exist in the nature. But when you're chanting, you're connecting with self. So, but it's not just chanting; it's serving too. You don't notice your symptoms when you're in service. When you're really in service, and it would be the same. I would be there, sitting with the group, and now we're in it. Now we're in the discussion. No symptoms whatsoever. Only after.
Meditation also.
Yeah, meditation also.
Meditational state.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and it's not that we'll necessarily. The goal is never relief of the symptoms. And the goal never wants to be relief of the symptoms.
Right.
On the other hand, we don't want to relate to these things in a way where we exacerbate them either. So the idea that I intentionally will not feed the body and I will not give it water because it's only imaginary anyway is not helpful either. So maintenance of it, but not prioritizing of it by any means. Maintenance.
Just knowing it.
Sorry?
Just knowing the body and the mind, it's lead and letting it be.
Okay, let's close. Find prayer narrative, page 171. What is it? 174, right? Okay, thank you. Om Chayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamam Mritat Om Chayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mokshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhi Pushti Vardhanam Orvai Rukamiva Bandhanan Mritor Mokshiyamamritat. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavatu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Makashit Dukhabhat Bhave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya Mritor Mahamritam Gamaya Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee. Let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. On below Sakura Shivananda Maharaj Ki, and for all the saints and sages of all the traditions. Let's rise for our tea.